Party people, what is up? I've been wanting to film this video for the past hour, but then I made the mistake of starting a chat with Ingram Spark about something, and then they took forever to find out the answer. I ultimately didn't find out the answer, so I had to email me the answer. I wasted an hour of just sitting, because I didn't want to like talk and then have the chat ding, and then I had to take a second to pause, type a response, and an hour of my life is gone. This is Michael with a K, M-I-K, is it A-E-L or E-A-L? A-E-L, apparently. M-I-K-A-E-L, Michael. This is Maya for today, because she's sleeping and I didn't feel like getting her up. Because if you've been to a Q&A here before, you would know I have a puppy here with me, typically. Today we have a manatee. Today we're talking about all of your questions about my self-publishing, my writing, and my personal life. So, if that sounds interesting to you, I guess without further ado, let's hop into the video. Except wait. If you enjoy these kinds of Q&As, be sure to leave a like, and if I missed a question of yours that you had, leave it down below and I'll answer it for you. We have a lot of questions to get into. We have 31 questions. So this will either be a very long video or we'll have a part 2. So, I guess we'll find out at the end. Stick around. Now, without further ado, let's hop into the video. Okay, so I'm gonna go between columns. So I have it all kind of a little bit columnized between writing, self-publishing, and personal. So I'm going to start with personal. And the personal is still writing and self-publishing related, but just questions that I feel like are more of my personal opinion, questions more about me rather than my publishing journey or writing journey. Does that make sense? What is your biggest uphill battle and what comes easily when it comes to writing? Is that what that was? I wrote them off my Instagram, but I guess I didn't elaborate enough on that one. So I'm going to say biggest uphill battle for self-publishing and writing and the business side of things. The biggest battle. What do I struggle with the most? I think I'm really bad at living in the moment. That's not really a struggle, though. Is it a struggle? I am really bad at living in the moment. I'm always planning ahead and thinking way too far in the future. I would say ads. I'm just going to say ads are my biggest thing that I hate figuring out. Like, I know some people nail ads, and I'm jealous, and maybe one day I will. But in terms of what comes easily, I know a lot of people kind of struggle with marketing, but I feel like that does come a little bit easier for me. So for that one, I would definitely say marketing. I love marketing my books on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Where else do I market my books? Do I market them anywhere else? I don't know. I just think that's kind of fun, and playing around with like promo images and captions and stuff like that. I think that's really fun for me. I'm new to the TikTok scene, so I'm trying to be better about TikTok, marketing on TikTok. If you want to follow me on TikTok, I'm author Sarah Sutton. Yes, I am. Okay, sorry. Second question. How do I get through a writing slump? Writing slumps are not frequent for me. I gotta angle you down. I'm not loving all this empty space above my head. Writing slumps are not something I frequently fall into. Or maybe I do and I just come out of them fast, I guess. Or maybe I just push through them. Because I do. I just push through them. Back in October, I feel like I went through a writing slump. It was at the beginning or the end of October. I do remember feeling like it was a struggle to sit down and write because I had fallen out of the habit, so that would have been the end of October. If I'm in a writing slump and what I'm working on isn't really helping, what I do is, like, say I still want to work on this project, I just pick a scene that is like so intense in my head and I skip to that scene and write that scene, and if that jogs some, creative juices, and that's awesome. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I have to write another scene that I want to out of order. I don't typically write out of order, chronological order I should say, but I find that if I am stuck like really bad, that's what I do to get me back into the groove of things. How do I balance writing/edits/YouTube on one schedule? So I'm going to be honest. I don't balance it well. Writing, edits, and YouTube. Those are 3 things that take a lot of time. Writing takes a lot of time. The critique edits I do take a lot of time. And YouTube takes a long time. Filming, editing, videos, vlogs, it just takes some time. Thumbnails. In terms of balance, I will say I'm not doing it as well as I want to. My ideal life would to be, you know, do edits in the morning, YouTube videos in the afternoon, and then write at night. But I don't wake up nearly early enough for that because I go to bed late. I will say I have a part-time job that I only work 2 days a week at, especially since now everything is going crazy with the world again. I work at a hotel, so no one's really booking hotel stays where I'm at. So my schedule is very conducive for my writing life. It's like the best schedule I could possibly have while still having a job. I am lucky in that regard, but I really want to work on a schedule. I really need to work on a schedule. I need to be better at it one day. Where do I get inspiration for my couples? Let's talk about Vincent and Addie. Initially, Vincent was this kind of bad boy, tough guy persona, you know, and Addie was the good girl who, you know, was rich. I wanted her to be like kind of like one of those like suck up rich people. It didn't happen that way. That was in the first draft, and she's not like that way anymore. And Vincent's not really that much of a bad boy anymore. But I kind of just, this is gonna sound weird, I kind of look at the guys like, okay, what kind of guy do I like? What do I find attractive? To be grounded in my couple, I like to picture myself as the main character at first before I even start writing, because it helps me to get into a mindset of this relationship that I'm going to be tackling. And then I piece the main character apart to make her as little like me as possible. Hobbies, personality, just so it's not literally me as the main character in every single story. How awkward would that be? Like, what tropes do I love? I love the kind of bad boy or band trope. I love friends to lovers. I love the idea of a guy fake dating a girl so they both get what they want. I love that so much. And then things kind of just form in my head from there. I feel like I'm taking so long to answer these questions. I'm only on question, that was question 4. And I have 31 to go. Okay, what inspired me to become an author? Easy. Reading books as a child. I feel like everybody does read a book when they're little. But for me, for some reason, it just connected a lot differently. I absolutely loved just reading books, and I think it was in the 3rd grade. And the idea of writing them myself was just awesome, you know? And that kind of relates to another question. When did I know I wanted to be an author? I was in the 3rd grade when I figured out that you could actually be an author. I started writing books, like, you know, short stories, little lame stuff, in the 1st grade. But I was in the 3rd grade when I was talking to one of my librarians at my school, and she had mentioned that this author, what did she speak with that author? She was just talking about this author. I was like, author? Like, what is that? And she's like, oh, that's the person that wrote this book. Because up until then, I was a kid who just really absorbed the story, not so much the person who wrote it. It kind of didn't click in my brain that somebody wrote that story. Do you know what I'm saying? I looked at it more like the characters and that whole aspect, rather than somebody actually created this story. So in the 3rd grade, I literally found out an author was a thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want that to be me. I want to be an author because I love writing stories. These people love writing stories. I could be an author too. So yeah, 3rd grade. I know it was 3rd grade too, because that was when we started reading bigger chapter books. And that was when I really got into a close relationship with my librarian, who really did foster that love of reading in me. What a great elementary school memory. What made me decide to write romance? I love love. I love love so much. The idea of kissing, like couples kissing, warms my little heart, and I just love it. I wish I could remember the first love story that I read/watched, like movie-wise, but I can't. Whatever it was had to have kickstarted my love for it because, ooh. Where do I see myself in 3 years? So in 3 years, I would be turning, right now, 3 years from now, I would be 24. Oh, that's weird. So I guess 24-year-old me, where do I see myself? I guess career-wise, I would hope I would have published a lot more books. I would hope I am a full-time author by then. That is my goal, my plan, my dream. I Would love it if I was making enough money by then to be a full-time author. Honestly, I don't know if I'd move out in 3 years. Would I move out? I mean, there's always that stigma of people like, oh, you used to live with your parents. But the thing is, I don't like the idea of living by myself. I'm a really paranoid person. I don't know if I would move out unless I was making bank and then I could move to New York, because then I'd move to an awesome apartment in New York. I just want to live in a city. That would be my goal if I'm making enough money. Because the idea of rent kind of hurts my soul because, like, I don't know where I'm going to be living at in 3 years. But career-wise, I really, really, really want to publish more books. I think I still want to stay in the young adult romance category. That was a question on here. If I see myself branching out to a different genre, and right now, I don't think I do. I really don't. I love young adult romance. I love the audience of young adult. I love the tropes in young adult. I can't really see myself writing steamier stuff right now. I just think right now, I love where I'm at, and I just kind of want to play with that field a little bit more, you know? I think there's so many stones to turn over. There's so much untapped potential there. You guys don't know what that means yet, but you will soon. I think it's just, I just think I'm going to be sticking with it for a hot minute. What advice would I give myself a year ago today? So a year ago today, I mean, I don't know the exact day, but a year ago this time, I was gearing up for my very first book release. It is the 11th today. So in just over a month, What Are Friends For would be publishing. I would tell myself, what would I tell myself? I can still picture myself being so excited about What Are Friends For, because it wasn't even that long ago. What the heck? I would tell myself that I'm doing the right thing. Yes, I'm doing the right thing. I was so unsure of what I was doing, because I haven't said this before, because I didn't, like, I don't know why I haven't said it, but I just haven't said it. Or was it a month before I launched the pre-order was when I queried What Are Friends For the first and for the last time. I think I picked 3 agents and then 1 publishing company, and I queried What Are Friends For, and I didn't get a response. I took that as, okay, this is what you're meant to do. You know, you're meant to self-publish, or else it would have come through. But I was still unsure of it. You know, I was still nervous and kind of freaked out about it, about what this outcome would be. So I think I would definitely tell myself, you are doing the right thing. You're doing the thing, like, because back then I had no idea I'd love self-publishing as much as I do now. I had no idea I would literally be obsessed with it. Like, this was something that I was so unsure about, but now I've never been more sure about anything in my life. This was one of the best decisions that I've made in my life. Honestly, that sounds a little dramatic, but I think it is. Okay, so biggest thing that I've learned about writing / publishing this year. I've literally learned all of it this year. Biggest thing that I've learned. I think I've learned how to talk about my books in a way that makes the reader interested a little bit. Sharing quotes, making images that draws readers in, you know. If you go back on my page and you find, like, old posts, my posts weren't very engaging. Maybe they were. I don't know. I just feel like that is one thing that I've really learned how to do this year, is to kind of create engaging content that could be interesting. Do you know what I'm saying? I would think that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned in self-publishing. In terms of writing, my timelines, I guess. How much time could I take to publish a book? Realistically. I think that is something that I have learned about myself in my writing journey, for sure. We are 21 minutes into filming. I think I'm just gonna keep going with this video and segue into the writing and see how long it is after that. So let's keep going, and we're gonna move on to the writing section of these questions. Okay, so how many words are my Patreon short stories? So I've only published 1, but I can look right now and see how many words Lucas's point of view was. Okay, so Lucas's point of view was 22 Word doc pages and 7,757 words. Yes, just under 8,000 words for Lucas's point of view, and I'm pretty sure all of my other short stories have been that length as well. But in terms of Patreon short stories, that's the only one that I've done so far, and that's where we're at. How do I write quickly? I've talked about this a few times in the past few weeks. For me, I have been writing for a very long time. I learned how to type in 5th grade, to type without looking at the keyboard. That's when we learned how to type. Yes. in the 5th grade. I've been practicing my typing with both hands, not looking at the keyboard, since 5th grade. So I think that has something to do with it as well. But I will say, my brain goes a mile a minute. You will have noticed because I talk super fast. And sometimes my mouth cannot keep up with how fast my brain is whirring. So I think that has a huge thing to play in terms of writing fast, because when my brain goes really fast, my fingers go fast. You know what I'm saying? Since I have so much experience with typing, fingers just typed what's going on in my head. And I really can envision my scene fully. I don't know, I can picture it like a movie. I know you hear people say that, but I literally can see what's going on. If I zone out enough, I can see my characters moving around, embracing, talking, laughing, throwing something. And I feel like that, being able to envision it so clearly, does help me move quickly in the scene as well. So that would also help with the writing quickly part of it. It's something to practice, but writing fast or slow, I mean, sometimes you can be a fast writer and write garbage. That's literally me half the time. I think either way is okay. I think for me, it was just practice on typing fast, and just the fact that my brain is literally on like ×2 speed all the time. How long does each step in the publishing and writing process take me? I talked about this, who did I talk about this with? Jen? I would say drafting takes, I would say almost every step of the process can take me a month. It can take me longer if I'm not dedicated and I'm not disciplined enough. It could take me less if it's just like going off in my brain and I am like so into this story. Length also plays a factor into it too. But I would say first draft and all of the other subsequent drafts take me a month. Actually, first draft I would say a month. Second draft, unless it's let's say it's an average. There's some small things that need to be fixed and some major things that need to be fixed. Probably a month. Then I send it to beta readers, which I typically allow a month to a month and a half for, depending on the length. And incorporating those edits typically takes me 2 weeks as well. And then I send it to my copy editor after that, and that typically takes a month. My last one took 2 months, and that was a pretty long time. But typically that takes a month. And then it takes me not long at all to incorporate copy edits. Maybe 2 weeks to incorporate copy edits. Then another 2 weeks to proofread, and then the project is done. So let's say that is my dream schedule. First draft, 1 month. Second draft, did I say 2 months? I mean 1 month? Yeah, let's say 1 month for that. 1 month. Beta reads we have to do a month for. So a month. 2 weeks to incorporate them, and then, okay, hang on, this is going to get tricky. So the half fingers, 2 weeks, okay? 2 weeks to incorporate them, a month for copy edits, 2 weeks to incorporate copy edits, and then 2 weeks to do proofreads. Am I missing something? No. So 5.5 months. Is that how that math works? Let's just do this like this. Like that. Yeah. 5.5 months for a book. That's really quick. I mean, of course, that is my ideal timeline. Sometimes it might take longer for beta reads and because of the holidays or because something comes up, but that is my ideal timeline. And I would say that's my ideal how long it would take me for each step of the process. If I'm doing it back to back. Because I will say I do really want to take breaks in between my drafts. Like I finished Estelle's book, and I'm taking some time off that because I don't think it's smart for me to finish a book and then hop straight into it. I don't think that's smart for me. I think I at least need 2 weeks off of it. And you know, you always hear that it takes a month off, 6 months off. I could never. I do think distance is important because then you know, you get a better idea of the story when you come back to it. We're firing through these. How long have I been writing? I have been writing since 1st grade. Writing seriously, I would say since 6th grade. A favorite relationship to write? Well, I write romance, so you have to be betting I'm going to say the couple relationship. However, if that's like a cheating answer, I would say I love to write the best friend relationships. Like Eloise, Edith, and Donnie, I love them so much. Like, I think it's so fun to see the wittiness of the best friend and the kindness of that relationship come through. I think it's one of the best relationships because it's one of the most important relationships to the main character at that time in her life, because when you're a teenager, your best friend is everything. You know what I'm saying? So I love detailing those relationships too. Would I ever co-write? And, you know, I don't want to say hard no, but I don't think so. Let me tell you why. My friends, am what you would call a control freak. I really, really am. You know, I love things to be a certain way, you know. And, you know, I keep saying, you know, fudge. I don't think I would be able to have enough of a backbone to say, ooh, I don't like that you just wrote. I don't like that at all. I think I would sit back and be like, okay, sounds good, and secretly hate it. And that is not a good working relationship you want to have. So I don't think I'd be fair to a partner, because if they were to come at me with something like, oh, I don't like what you wrote here, I'd be ticked. I'm not a good person for it. I don't have a good enough personality for it. I'm too introverted to be able to say something when I don't like it. I would just not want to talk about it because I don't like confrontation. So I would just be like simmering, and, you know, I don't think I'd be good enough for it. However, if I found somebody who our like voices in terms of writing were the same, we liked the same genre, we liked the same things in like our love interests and stuff like that, and if we were the same productivity wise, and business management wise, that could be, then maybe. Basically, I'm just looking for a clone of myself, and then I'll co-write with her. I mean, never say never. Something could come up in the future. Okay, that was all of the writing questions. Now we are moving on to self-publishing questions. This is the section that I was really excited to tackle, so we will see how it goes. This first one probably could have gone in the personal, but it says, most memorable moments of my self-publishing journey. Okay, obviously publishing my first book, that was insane. Freaking insane. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like that feeling of sitting back, publishing your book, holding your book in your hands for the very first time. Nothing like it. If you've poured your heart and soul into a book, you know, and you're finally holding it in your hands, it is such a freaking surreal feeling. Literally leaves you wondering if, like, this is even real. So that is definitely one of my memorable moments. And then my first 50 copies was really freaking memorable to me, because before What Are Friends For published, I had this goal to sell 50 copies in a year. I don't think I had planned my other books yet. I don't think I did. So I just wanted to sell 50 copies of What Are Friends For in a year. And I literally sold 50 copies, I'm pretty sure, within the first week of What Are Friends For being out. And I was so ecstatic, because that was the number I really wanted for the year. You know what I mean? Like, and I did it in a week, and it was just such a surreal thing, because I know a lot of self-published books just don't take off. You know, the market is so saturated. There's a lot of them out there. You know, there's a lot of competition. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I just kind of self-published a book and talked the heck out of it and was crossing my fingers hoping it'd work. So it was just so awesome to have done my goal for a year in a week. Let's do my top 3 most memorable moments. Do I want to say this one, or does it sound? On the topic of 50 copies in a week, I think my most memorable moment happened actually recently. I calculated all of my books up. What Are Friends For, Out of My League, and If the Brim Fits. I calculated all the copies up on all the different vendors, and I have sold 5,000 copies in 2020 of all my books. That was one of the reasons why I went on the hotel retreat and I got Longhorn Steakhouse, because that was just a celebratory, holy cow thing. Like I just said, you know, like my previous goal was 50 books in a year, and in 2020 I've sold 5,000. So that is probably one of the craziest feelings for me. You know, some people sell way more than that, and that's cool. That's awesome. But for me, 5,000 is an insane number. Because I started out wanting to sell 50. Like, oh my gosh. I feel a little bit like weird talking about it because I don't really talk about the numbers of self-publishing all that often. But I do think it's kind of fun to see the actual progress, you know? Yeah, those are my top 3 memorable moments. I spent a lot of time talking about that one just because it's great. What do I wish I'd known before I self-published? Ooh. I wish I'd started my YouTube channel before I self-published. Selfed? I just did self-published. I wish I'd started my YouTube channel before I self-published because I wish I could have gotten that, like, start of it all. I'm so upset that I didn't have the beginning of it. I wish I freaking did. So I think that's what I wish I would have known or have done. Start that YouTube channel. Lord have mercy on my soul. Do my deadlines stay the same per book or do they vary? I would say they kind of stay the same. I don't really, like for first drafts and second drafts and beta edits and stuff like that, I would say they kind of stay the same. I talked about it a bit before about how long each step takes me. So I would say they kind of stay the same. How did I find the right editor? I went on Reedsy. Reedsy's kind of a more expensive place to find an editor in my opinion, but you know their quality. I've booked 2 or 3 editors off of Reedsy, and I know their quality. Like they have credentials on there that you can visibly see, and they're approved, and they're really great. They're really reliable. In terms of how do you find the right one, I really would say make sure you do sample edits. Make sure they vibe with the voice that you are trying to keep with. Make sure, because sample edits really do a good job of them showing you what their skills are. If they don't want to do a sample edit, find a different editor, because that's sketchy. Any editor you ask for should be willing to do a sample edit, even if it's 3 pages, you know? What takes the most time to research for self-publishing? Well, recently I researched a bit more for Amazon ads and Facebook ads, then that took a lot of time. I don't remember researching much for self-publishing, because if you guys didn't know, I took a course with Sarah Cannon called Publish and Thrive, and that was really like a crash course, intense crash course on self-publishing. So it really taught me everything that I needed to know. But I guess I would say ads, yes, because I still don't know what I'm doing with ads. What the heck? Do I see myself going hybrid or traditionally publishing in the future? Yes, I would be a hybrid published author. Like, you know, you hear like agents reaching out to self-published authors, and like that's like the dream, you know? I think that is the only way that I would be a hybrid author. I don't think I would ever query again. For me, the idea of sitting and spending time querying when I could be getting ready to publish this book, I think is just a little bit tough for me. I think it's just because I was burned by my last query attempt. My previous query attempt, that the idea of querying just is kind of breaking my heart at that point. You know, like the idea of it kind of just hurts. I don't want to spend time sitting on a novel to be rejected. I think that would crush my confidence, especially with that book, because if they rejected it, I wouldn't want to self-publish it, because I'd be like, well, they didn't want it because it's bad. Like, why would I self-publish? It's bad, you know? I think that would really be detrimental to me. So if I had an agent reach out to me and want to represent me, I think that's probably the only way I would be hybrid, because I would love to be hybrid. I think I'd love to see the both sides publishing coin. And you know, I started off wanting to be traditionally published. I think that is on my bucket list to be traditionally published at some point, but not like solely traditionally published. I would definitely be a hybrid author. There's no way I'm giving up self-publishing. I love it so much, but I would love to see what traditionally published is like in terms of like marketing or book sales and how different those kinds of stats would be. And you know, it's just, I think it'd be fun to have an agent to talk with and work with and walk stuff through, and then a publisher. You know, I think it'd just be fun. I'm definitely open to it, but I think my right now it's a little unrealistic for me because no agent is going to slide into my DMs and be like, hey, can I represent you and pitch your next book to this publishing company? You know, no one's going to do that. How do you find ARC readers? I actually have a video all about ARC readers on my channel, but what I do is I just shout it out to my followers and say, hey, who wants to read a book for free in exchange for a review? And that's how I find mine. What would I tell someone who is tempted to self-publish? There's so many things. Tempted to self-publish is interesting to me. The phrasing is interesting because it sounds like you're thinking about self-publishing, but you're also thinking about traditionally publishing. I would say look at yourself. Are you the kind of personality that likes to do things on your own? Do you have good like entrepreneurial skills? Like, do you think you would work better marketing yourself? Do you think you could promote yourself? You know, are you good at making Canva images? Kinds of things like that, because marketing yourself is a huge thing for self-publishing, and if that's not something you enjoy doing or something you're comfortable with, I would really maybe not reconsider. I would just say, just think about it, you know, think, okay, maybe I'm not comfortable with it, but could I get comfortable with it? Could I learn how to do it? Will I continue the same paper theme on my book covers? Hang on, I got my books over here. So, this is the paper theme that this question is referring to. In case you haven't seen my book covers before, these two are what the current layout is looking like, and this is what the old layout looked like. You can see they all have the paper theme, the same font, and then there's a couple. I will say that the branding is on point. Like, these two are branded so well. If you've read, like, my stuff, you'll know a Sarah Sutton book when you see it because it's going to have this branding. However, it makes it look like they're all part of a series, when in reality, they're interconnected, they're in the same universe, they're in the same county, but they're not like other series that are like branded specifically, like why are they all slipping my mind? Oh, by Kelsey Stelting, the Curvy Girl series. Like, this is just books about different couples that aren't necessarily like together. I like how they're branded, but I almost wish I hadn't done them this way. So maybe in the future I might even change this, but I would still love to keep a paper theme with the couple in the font. I just don't know how else I would reorganize it. But because like I said, I love these. But I wish I would do like Sophia and Walsh and then Edith and her couple. They would have the same book layout. And then if Donnie got a book, Donnie and his couple would have the same layout as At the Brim Fits. You know what I'm saying? Like, they wouldn't all be this, I don't know. If I did this series as like the Fenton County series, then I could do it like that, but I don't ever see myself writing outside of the Fenton County. I mean, I do have books in the future that I'm planning on series-ing. That is not a word, but making into a series that is kind of like the Curvy Girl series, like standalones, but about like best friends or brothers. And then those, I'm going to make sure they're branded differently from these because I want those to be their own kind of brand, you know? I'd love to keep the paper and the font and everything, but I don't think they're always going to be this same layout, even though I love this layout. I think in the future, I definitely have room to redo them, especially What Are Friends For? I definitely have room to regroup them once I get more books out. I think right now it's totally fine to have them in the same layout because I only have 3, soon to be 4, but you know. How much input do I have in covers? Ooh, we were just talking about covers. I have total input on this. If the Brim Fits is one that we recently did, my cover designer and I remember the font had been like straight across and I wasn't really in love with it, so I asked if we could do the slanted cover. I was the one that gave my cover designer this photo. I said that I really loved this couple. Can we use this couple or one like it? And we used this couple. In self-publishing, if you're working with an amazing cover designer like I'm working with, Designed with Grace, Megan Keith, amazing. I will never stop talking about how much I love them. If you're working with a quality cover designer, I mean, it's your cover, you're paying for it. So Megan is really awesome. I don't know if she has unlimited revisions, but I know in the past I've asked for a lot of things changed and Megan has been absolutely kind and amazing with it. So I have lots of input and I'm grateful for it. Why did I self-publish? I have a whole video on that up my channel. I will leave it linked in the cards. hopefully down below. I'm gonna make me a note. I don't want to forget that. Essentially, I got rejected from a publishing house that I spent a year in communication with. I thought it was a for sure thing. I was excited. I told everybody about it. And then after a year, my editor went radio silent. And then I basically messaged her manager. And the manager told me that they did not want to accept my book. And it was a terrible experience. I mean, it was a fine it just broke me. So that's why I self-published. If you want the full details, I go into more details about it in that video. And then the last question, what is my favorite part about self-publishing? I love the idea of just having it be 100% what I want. You know, the blurb is what I want, the keywords, the content, the book covers. I love the control of it, and I love the community in self-publishing. And I love the entrepreneurial side of self-publishing. I've always wanted to be kind of like an entrepreneur. I used to want to make t-shirts. I used to want to own a restaurant. That would have been a nightmare. But I love the idea of working on stuff like that's me. Like it's my business, my brand. I've loved it. I've always loved it. And this is me. I'm Sarah Sutton with Golden Crown Publishing, LLC. That's my business. That's my brand. And that is something that I'm absolutely 1000% so happy about. It's just amazing. Definitely my favorite thing is just, I just feel so empowered. You know, like I can do this because look at me. I did it. Anyway, guys. That is all the questions that you guys asked me. All 31 of those questions you asked me. I think it was 31. And I answered. And I had so much fun answering these questions. Thank you guys so much for submitting your writing, self-publishing, and personal related questions to me. I love these Q&As, and it's been a hot minute since we did one, and I thought we could do one more to wrap out the final end of 2020. 2020 has been an insane year, and if you want to see a little bit more about my self-publishing journey in 2020, I recently published a video. I will leave that linked somewhere as well if you guys want to go watch it. I just talk about what it was like publishing these 3 books my first year of self-publishing. It's been a wild year, it's been a wild ride, and I'm so excited to keep journeying down this path with each and every one of you. Can't Catch My Breath comes out January 26th. If you guys want to go pre-order your copy, the link is down below. Signed copy pre-orders are live. They're on my website. You can go to my website and pre-order your copy. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video and if one of your questions was answered, please don't forget to scroll down and tap that like button. If I missed out on a question that you had, please comment it down below and I will also answer that one for you. And let me know what was your favorite answer or question in this video because I'm really curious. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye! That was so long. That took me almost an hour to film. Is it 5 o'clock? Oh, it took me exactly an hour to film. Love that for me. It's gonna be an epic video to edit.